Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiri Nashtaprayeshu Bhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhakti Bhagavati Nashtiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 6, Brahma satisfies Lord Shiva, text number 41 onwards. So here Brahmaji along with demigods have approached Lord Shiva at Kailash to pacify him. And how Lord Shiva, when he saw Brahmaji coming, he got up, and although he was speaking with Narad Muni and Kumaras were there, Kuberji is there, and other sages are there, but he got up and he touched Lord Brahma's feet. And let's see what further happens. Tatha pare siddhagana maharshibhir ye vai samantadanu neelalohitam namaskritah praha shashanka shekaram krit pramanam prahasan ivatmadhu. All the sages who were sitting with Lord Shiva, such as Narad and others, also offered their respectful obeisances to Lord Brahma. After being so worshipped, Lord Brahma, smiling, began to speak to Lord Shiva. Lord Brahma was smiling because he knew that Lord Shiva is not only easily satisfied, but easily irritated as well. He's not just easily satisfied, that is Ashutosh, but he gets easily irritated. He was afraid that Lord Shiva might be in an angry mood because he had lost his wife and had been insulted by Daksha. In order to conceal his fear, he smiled and addressed Lord Shiva as follows. So Brahmaji has come there as in a diplomatic position. He wanted to pacify Lord Shiva and try to undo to whatever extent that sacrifice and the issues of Daksha that he can. So he is very smiling and he is beginning to speak to Lord Shiva. Brahmo vacha jane tvamisham vishwasya jagato yoni bijayo shaktahi shivasya cha param yattad brahm nirantaram. Lord Brahma said, my dear Lord Shiva, I know that you are the controller of the entire material manifestation, the combination father and mother of the cosmic manifestation, and the supreme Brahman beyond the cosmic manifestation as well. I know you in that way. Although Lord Brahma had received very respectful obeisances from Lord Shiva, he knew that Lord Shiva was in a more exalted position than himself. Lord Shiva's position is described in Brahma Samhita. There is no difference between Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva in their original positions. But still, Lord Shiva is different from Lord Vishnu. The example is given of milk and yogurt. Yogurt is not different from the original milk from which it is made. So Lord Brahma, when he says, I know you are the controller of the entire material manifestation, actually it is Krishna or Vishnu, we can understand. But there is, like Prabhupada explained, there is hardly any difference between Vishnu and Shiva. The difference is that there's a difference between the milk and the yogurt. Yogurt is nothing but milk only, just in addition that one culture is added. And that culture, that the difference between Shiva and Vishnu is the material mode of nature. Because Sadashiv, he comes in contact with the material mode. Otherwise, Sadashiv can be considered expansion of Vishnu himself. Tvameva Bhagwan ethat Shiva Shakteyo Swarupayo Vishvam Srijasi Pasyatsi Kridannur Patato Pato Yatha. My dear Lord, you create this cosmic manifestation, maintain it and annihilate it by expansion of your personality, exactly as a spider creates, maintains and winds up its web. In this verse, the word Shiva Shakti is significant. Shiva means auspicious and Shakti means energy. There are many types of energies of the Supreme Lord, and all of them are auspicious. Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara are called guna avatars, or incarnations of material qualities. In the material world, we compare these different incarnations from different angles of vision. But since all of them are expansions of the Supreme Auspicious, all of them are auspicious, although sometimes we consider one quality of nature to be higher or lower than another. The mode of ignorance of tamoguna is considered very much lower than the others, but in the higher sense, it's also auspicious. Example may be given herein that the government has both an education department and criminal department. An outsider may consider the criminal department inauspicious, but from the government's point of view, it is as important as the education department, and therefore the government finances both departments equally without discrimination. Nice example Prabhupada gave. So sometimes we can say, oh, this is because Lord Shiva is in charge of the mode of ignorance, so that mode is not very important, not very good, not very auspicious. No, Shiva himself means auspicious. The word Shiva, grammatically, it means auspicious. And Prabhupada gives the example of the department, education department and criminal department for a government. They both are important. Sometimes they spend more money on the criminal department because there are so many people who are criminals. But they both are important. So similarly, whether it is mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance, all three are important. And Lord Shiva's position, being very unique, it's also very, very important. So that's why Brahmaji is giving him due respect for his position. Tvamev dharmartha dugha vipatye dakshin sutrin sasarjita dvaram tvayav loke avasitascha setavo yanan brahmana shraddadatte dhritvritaha. My dear Lord, your Lordship has introduced a system of sacrifices through the agency of Daksha. And thus one may derive the benefits of religious activities and economic development. Under your regulative principles, the institution of the 4 varnas and ashrams is respected. The Brahmins therefore vow to follow this system strictly. The Vedic system of varna and ashram is never to be neglected, for these divisions are created by the Supreme Lord himself for the upkeep of social and religious order in human society. The Brahmins, as an intelligent class of men in society, must vow to steadily respect this regulative principle. The tendency in this age of Kali to make a classless society and not observe the principles of varna and ashram is a manifestation of an impossible dream. Destruction of the social and spiritual orders will not bring fulfillment of the idea of a classless society. One should strictly observe the principles of varna and ashram for the satisfaction of the Creator. For it is stated in Bhagavad Gita that by Lord Krishna that the 4 orders of social system, Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras, are his creation. They should act according to the regulative principles of this institution and satisfy the Lord, just as different parts of the body all engage in the service of this whole. The whole is the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his Virat Rupa, or universal form. The Brahman, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras are respectively the mouth, the arms, the abdomen, the legs of the universal form of the Lord. As long as they are engaged in the service of the complete whole, their position is secure, otherwise they fall down from their respective positions and become degraded. So Brahmaji is saying, you have introduced, your Lordship has introduced a system of sacrifices and the system of varna and ashram. So basically, Brahmaji is trying to say to Lord Shiva that both the sacrifices are important and the 4 varnas are important, 4 ashrams are important. So sacrifice that your associates have just disrupted. And they went ahead and killed some Brahmins and injured so many Brahmins and sages. So this is not actually uh, very nice, because you have established everything. Of course, Brahmaji is saying you have established, but it really means Krishna has established. But since you're like an expansion of Krishna, so maybe you have it established. So this is all Brahmaji is trying to pacify Lord Shiva, that in a way he's telling him, you shouldn't have done that, whatever you did. Or now it is done, now calm down and let's think of what to do next. Tvam karmanam mangalanam kartu swalokam tanushe swah paramba amangalanam chatamesram mulbadam viparyayaha ken tadev kasyachit. O most auspicious Lord, you have ordained the heavenly planets, the spiritual Vaikuntha planets, and the impersonal Brahman sphere as the respective destinations of the performers of auspicious activities. Similarly, for others who are miscreants, you have destined different kinds of hells which are horrible and ghastly. Yet sometimes it is found that the destinations are just the opposite. It is very difficult to ascertain the cause of this. So Brahmaji is trying to say, oh Shivji, that you have ordained the heavenly planet. That means you have made up this law that anybody who does suspicious activity, he goes to the heavenly planets or Vaikuntha planets, or he goes to the Brahmjyoti. And those who have committed sins, then they go to hellish planets and so on and so forth. But why is he saying that? But he's saying sometimes destinations appear to be opposite. Means somebody who's doing a yajna or following the rules properly, sometimes he ends up going to hell. Just like Daksha just did. What he did, he was doing a yajna. And what happened? He got his head cut off. So he's saying it's just very difficult to ascertain the cause of this. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is called the Supreme Will. It is by the Supreme Will that everything is happening. It is said, therefore, that not a blade of grass moves without the Supreme Will. Generally, it is prescribed that performance of pious activities are promoted to the higher planetary systems. Devotees are promoted to the Vaikunthas or spiritual worlds, and impersonal speculators are promoted to the impersonal Brahman effulgence. But it sometimes so happens that a miscreant like Ajamil is immediately promoted to Vaikuntha Loka simply by chanting the name of Narayan. Yeah, so Ajamil was a very sinful person, but he went back to Vaikuntha Loka just by chanting the name of Narayan. Or just like other day we read about the glories of Tulsi Maharani, that if you put just one stick of Tulsi on the pyre or the cremation place of somebody who's very sinful, or anybody, but just because the cremation is done with the Tulsi, that person, that soul goes to Vaikuntha. All his sins are wiped out. So this is bewildering to people. In fact, I got a message from Nandapriya Mataji, and she said, "How is it possible, Prabhu?" I said, "Well, it's mercy of Tulsi Devi. What can we say? If somebody is dying and if we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra in his ear, or put Tulsi Kanthi Mala around his neck, or even if he doesn't chant, he just hears the holy name, still it's very beneficial. Just like it is said that in Banaras, that Manikarnika Ghat, it is their dead bodies always burning. People bring dead bodies from all over there to get the cremation done over there. Why? Because it is said that Banaras or Kashi Vishwanath is a place of Lord Shiva. And especially that ghat, and if the dead body is cremated over there, then Lord Shiva himself comes and chants the name of Ram in his ears. And even if he, well, not the Vaikuntha planet, but he definitely goes to Swarga. So that's not that sinful people, that because he is sinful or she is sinful, he's not supposed to go. Who are we to decide? And how can we not understand that this is the mercy, this is the potency of the holy name, potency of Tulsi Maharani, potency of the devotees of the Lord. At the same time, one should understand that if one is eligible, then and then only he will either receive the Tulsi stick when he is about to leave the body, or when he died and his cremation going on, or somebody will chant the holy name in his ear because of his eligibility. Otherwise, it will never happen, no matter how much we try. So we should understand that person was qualified. So like Ajamil, in the Purport Prabhupada is saying, Ajamil immediately got promoted to Vaikuntha Loka. But actually, he had done so much of bhakti in his, when he was a little Brahman, brahmachari. And I'm sure in the previous lives also he did plenty. So it just, for some reason, there was some obstacle, some break in his bhakti. When he saw that prostitute, and he brought that prostitute home, and he did so many sinful activities afterwards. But the result of his pious activities of bhakti or services, whatever he had done prior to that, the result was that when he was very old, then he still had a baby born from that prostitute. And somehow, of course, it was ordained by the Lord, some sadhus came to his house. And Ajamil was very old, it was 88 years old. So he didn't commit any sinful activities with the sadhus. He received them well, and he fed them very nicely. And when they were leaving, they asked Ajamil that we want to give you some blessings. So the sadhu said, "You're very nice, but tell us more about yourself." And then Ajamil just could not lie to them, and he said, I was this, but somehow I got attracted by this prostitute, and this is my household, and this is how I make my living, committing so many sinful activities, killing people, cheating people. He was doing everything. And the sadhus, they were like, oh, where did we have our prasadam? This is not the right place. But they said, okay, but now we have taken the prasadam, we have to give him something. So they said, this little baby of yours, you name him Narayan. That's all. And they left. So Ajamil was chanting the name of Narayan unknowingly because he was so fond of that little baby. So when Yamdutas came, when Ajamil was about to leave the body, Yamdutas came, and Ajamil got scared, and he called this baby's name, Narayan, come here, Narayan, protect me. And all of a sudden Vishnudutas appeared. And Vishnudutas told Yamaduta, this is a Dharmatma. You cannot take him. So after that, when Ajamil was saved by Vishnudutas, he was given an extension in his lease of life. So Vishnudutas can do that. And with that extension, Ajamil went to Haridwar. He left everything, he left his house, left his family, all the protection, everything, and he went to Haridwar. And there he chanted continuously the name of the Lord. And then when he left his body again, the same four Vishnudutas came and they took him back to Vaikuntha Loka. So Ajamil got qualification, he got eligible to go back to Vaikuntha Loka. It's not going to happen if somebody is not eligible. outwardly it might look like, because we only see a small picture. We don't see the big picture. So here, Brahmaji is telling Shiva that sometimes it looks like a sinful person is going to Vaikuntha planet and the person who's performing the sacrifice is getting his head cut off. But ultimately there's some logic, there's some reason behind it. Similarly, King Daksha was always engaged in the pious activities of performing sacrifices. Yet simply because of creating a little misunderstanding with Lord Shiva, he was severely taken to task. The conclusion is therefore that the supreme will is the ultimate judgment. No one can argue upon this. A pure devotee therefore submits in all circumstances to the supreme will of the Lord, accepting it as all auspicious. So ultimately, it's the will of the Lord that is all auspicious, and that is perfect. Actually, there's nothing wrong. He is Purna, so everything he does is Purna. There's nothing lacking, nothing wrong in that. And then Prabhupada is quoting this verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. The purport of this verse is that when a devotee is in a calamitous condition, he takes it as a benediction of the Supreme Lord and takes responsibility himself for his past misdeeds. In such a condition, he offers still more devotional service and is not disturbed. One who lives in such a disposition of mind engaged in devotional service is the most eligible candidate for promotion to the spiritual world. In other words, such a devotee's claim for promotion to the spiritual world is assured in all circumstances. Means anything that happens supposedly wrong in a devotee's life, I say supposedly wrong, like nothing wrong can happen, is always under the protection of the Lord. But a devotee, a sincere devotee, takes it as a benediction. He said, I must have done something wrong, so I'm getting a karma, a reaction for that. And he continues with his services, continues with his chanting of the holy name. And that's why a devotee has a natural stake or natural claim for the spiritual world. Na vai satam tvacharanarpitatmanam bhuteshu sarvesha vipashyatam tava bhutani chatmani didrikshatam prayena rosho abhi bhavedyatha pashum. My dear Lord, devotees who have fully dedicated their lives unto your lotus feet certainly observe your presence as Paramatma in each and every being, and as such they do not differentiate between one living being and another. Such persons treat all living entities equally. They never become overwhelmed by anger, like animals who can see nothing without differentiation. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes angry or kills a demon, materially this may appear unfavorable, but spiritually it's a blissful blessing upon him. Therefore, pure devotees do not make any distinction between the Lord's anger and his blessings. They see both with reference to the Lord's behavior with others and themselves. A devotee does not find fault with the behavior of the Lord in any circumstance. So even if he's saying, Lord Shiva, even if you got angry, they're still very auspicious, but now you give up your anger. Prithak dhiya karma trisho durashaya parodaya narvit hriddo hrid rujo anisham paranduruktar vidutante antudhas tan mavadhi devadhan bhavad vidaha. Persons who observe everything with differentiation, who are simply attached to fruitive activities, who are mean-minded, who are always pained to see the flourishing condition of others, and who thus give distress to them by uttering harsh and piercing words, have already been killed by providence. Thus there is no need for them to be killed again by an exalted personality like you. So in the previous verse he said, your anger was very nice and there's no Nothing wrong with your anger, but now he's saying persons who act in material manner with so much of enviousness in their heart. Like he says, who are mean-minded, who are always pained to see the flourishing condition of others. And so much of jealousy is there, who give distress to others by uttering harsh and piercing words. They've already been killed by the providence. Means their consciousness is already impure, and in next life they're gonna go to a very bad place. Krishna himself says in Bhagavad Gita, Tanaham dushyata kruran sansareshu nadatman. Shipami ajasam ashman asresha yonishu. To those people who are very envious, I put them in ashman, asresha yonishu. Means I put them in very inauspicious places, inauspicious birth, life after life. Persons who are materialistic and always engage in fruitive activities for material profit cannot endure seeing the flourishing life of others. Except for a few persons in Krishna consciousness, the entire world is full of such envious persons who are perpetually full of anxieties because they are attached to the material body and are without self-realization. Since their hearts are always filled with anxiety, it is understood that they have already been killed by providence. Thus, Lord Shiva, as a self-realized Vaishnava, was advised not to kill Daksha. A Vaishnava is described as a par-dukha dukhi because although he is never distressed in any condition of life, he is distressed to see others in a distressed condition. Vaishnavas therefore should not try to kill by any action of the body or the mind, but should try to revive the Krishna consciousness of others out of compassion for them. The Krishna consciousness movement has been started to deliver the envious persons of the world from the clutches of Maya, and even though devotees are sometimes put into trouble, they push on the Krishna consciousness movement in all tolerance. So even if the devotees are put into trouble, they don't retaliate, they don't take revenge. On the other hand, this world is full of envious people, and they're dead. There's so much of enviousness. All over the world we can see that, whether it's colleagues in the office or neighbors or relatives, there's so much of enviousness. And because their consciousness is such, they're as good as dead people, because they're not going to get a good birth next life. One can chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking himself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. So that is for the devotees, because this is our purpose, to chant the holy name constantly. And these are the qualities given for one who can chant. A Vaishnava should follow the examples of such Vaishnavas as Haridas Thakur, Nityanand Prabhu, and also Lord Jesus Christ. There is no need to kill anyone who has already been killed. But it should be noted herewith that a Vaishnava should not tolerate the blaspheming of Vishnu or Vaishnavas, although he should tolerate person insults to himself. Text 48. Yasmin yada pushkar navamaya durantyat sprishtadhiya prithak drisha kurvanti tatra hi anukampya kripam asadho deva balat krite kramam. My dear Lord, if in some places materialists who are already bewildered by the insurmountable illusory energy of the Supreme Godhead sometimes commit offenses, a saintly person with compassion does not take this seriously. Knowing that they commit offenses because they are overpowered by the illusory energy, he does not show his prowess to counteract them. So for a saintly person or for a devotee, Brahma is saying he's just full of compassion. He does not take seriously if some people commit offenses against him. It is said that the beauty of a tapasvi or saintly person is forgiveness. There are many instances in the spiritual history of the world in which many saintly persons, although unnecessarily harassed, did not take action, although they could have done so. Parikshit Maharaj, for example, was unnecessarily cursed by a Brahmin boy, and this was very much regretted by the boy's father. But Parikshit Maharaj accepted the curse and agreed to die within a week as a Brahmin boy desired. Parikshit Maharaj was the emperor and was full in power, both spiritually and materially. But out of compassion and out of respect for the Brahmin community, he did not counteract the action of the Brahmin boy, but agreed to die within 7 days. Because it was desired by Krishna that Parikshit Maharaj agreed to the punishment so that the instruction of Srimad Bhagavatam would thus be revealed to the world. Parikshit Maharaj was advised not to take action. A Vaishnava is personally tolerant for the benefit of others. When he does not show his prowess, this does not mean that he is lacking in strength. Rather, it indicates that he is tolerant for the welfare of the entire human society. And look at, Prabhupada gave the example of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, how badly he was beaten up. He was put on the cross and he was nailed to the cross. But he did not retaliate. He did not say anything against the perpetrators. Haridas Thakur was ordered to be beaten up in 22 marketplaces. And the soldiers kept on beating him up, beating, and they were abusing, they were kicking him, they were beating him. But he would always get up and look at the soldiers with full of compassion, as if he was showing mercy on them. As if the soldiers were criminals. Of course, they were criminals because they were beating up Haridas Thakur. So this is the mood of Vaishnavas. This is the mood of a devotee. And that is what makes the devotees very dear to Krishna. Bhavastu punsa paramasya maya durantyas prashtamati samastutrik taya hatatma swanukarma chetaha swanugraham kartum iharhasi prabhu. My dear Lord, you are never bewildered by the formidable influence of the illusory energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, you are omniscient and should be merciful and compassionate towards those who are bewildered by the same illusory energy and are very much attached to fruitive activities. So, and Brahmaji is on the other hand is saying, this Daksha is completely under Maya, under illusory energy. So you should show compassion to him. A Vaishnava is never bewildered by the influence of the external energy because he is engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So that's a difference, huge difference. My divine energy, Krishna says, consisting of the 3 modes of material nature is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. A Vaishnava should take care of those who are bewildered by this Maya instead of becoming angry with them. But because without a Vaishnava's mercy, they have no way to get out of the clutches of Maya. Those who have been condemned of Maya are rescued by the mercy of the devotees. That's what devotees are called. Kalpatarubhya means desire trees. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They're just like desire trees who can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they're full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Those who are under the influence of the illusory energy are attracted to the fruitive activities, but a Vaishnava preacher attracts their hearts to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna. So this is the mood of a devotee. He's still show compassion towards people who ill-treats him. And he desires their spiritual upliftment. Kurvadhvarasyoddharanam hatasya bho tvaya samaptasya mano prajapate nayatra bhagam bhatav bhagino dadu kuyajeno yena makoni niyate. My dear Lord Shiva, you are a shareholder of a portion of the sacrifice, and you are the giver of the result. The bad priest did not deliver your share, and therefore you destroyed everything, and the sacrifice remains unfinished. Now you can do the needful and take your rightful share. And basically, Brahma is saying, let's finish the sacrifice. It's important. Jivata mano ayam prapadyeta chini bhaga Shram Shruni Rohantu Ushno Dantascha Purovat. My dear Lord, by your mercy, the performer of the sacrifice, King Daksha, may get back his life. Bhaga may get back his eyes, Bhrigu his mustache, and Pusha his teeth, because this was all removed by Veerbhadra and other associates of Daksha, of Shiva. Devanam Bhagra Gatranam Ritvijam Chayudhashma Bhi Bhavatanu Grihitannamashu Avanyo Astvana Anataram. O Lord Shiva, may the demigods and the priests whose limbs have been broken by your soldiers recover from the injuries by your grace. Eshte Rudra Bhagvastu Yaduchvashtu Advarasya Vai Yagyaste Rudra Bhagena Kalpatamadya Yagyahan. O destroyer of the sacrifice, please take your portion of the sacrifice and let the sacrifice be complete by your grace. Why? Because the sacrifice is conducted or performed to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's why Brahmaji wanted the sacrifice to be completed. A sacrifice is a ceremony performed to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, it is stated that everyone should try to understand whether the Supreme Personality of Godhead is satisfied by his activity. In other words, the aim of our activity should be to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just as in an office, it is the duty of the worker to see that the proprietor or the master is satisfied. So everyone's duty is to see whether the Supreme Personality of Godhead is satisfied by one's activity. So activities to satisfy the Supreme Godhead are prescribed in the Vedic literature, and execution of such activities is called yajna. So yajna doesn't mean just sitting down and doing the havan, that is yajna. Yajna is all activities done to satisfy Krishna. For this day and age, Mahaprabhu gave us this yajna, Sankirtan yajna. Chant the holy name. Prabhupada made it more clear. Chant 16 rounds as japa. So that is jap yajna. Then follow the 4 regulative principles. Eat prashadam. And other activities, whatever he has given. These are all yajna. Yajna means to please Krishna. And by our activities, by our mood, surrendered mood, we are trying to please Krishna. That's all. So we all are performing yajna by our karmas. Karmas, not just any karma engaged in service of the Lord. So if we have the right mood, the right consciousness, when we have a job, that's also yajna, because the mood is that I got this job or I got this business and I'm making money. It's only by the mercy of Krishna. It should be the right mood, not just a lip service. It should be the mood that it's only by mercy of Krishna I got this job, or I'm running this business, I'm making money. And the money that comes in, that also should be used, whatever portion we can, in the service of Krishna, for the propagation of his holy name, for upkeep of the family also, but to make sure the family also is Krishna conscious, to keep the house, which should be understood to be the house of the Lord. The Lord is the center, Lord is the master of this house. So for the upkeep of that house, if you're making money and spending money, it is part of yajna, because this satisfies Krishna. And that's why it says in Bhagavad Gita, Yagyarthat karmana anyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. Karma bandhana means if we do not work for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, then the reaction of our work will bind us. One should not work for his own sense gratification. Everyone should work for the satisfaction of God. That is called yajna. So Lord Shiva, because he didn't get his share of prasad from the sacrifice, because it was Daksha's curse, but it was, so Brahmaji pacified Shiva, but after the destruction of Yajna arena, by the followers of Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma pacified him and assured him that he would get his share of prasad. Thus he was requested to rectify whatever destruction was caused by his followers. So the last paragraph I'll read. The performance of yajna is a very difficult task because all the demigods must be invited to participate in the yajna. In this Kali Yuga, it's not possible to perform such costly sacrifices, nor is it possible to invite the demigods to participate. Therefore, in this age, it is recommended yajna sankirtana prayara yajanti hi sumedasa. Those who are intelligent should know that in Kali Yuga, there is no possibility of performing the Vedic sacrifices. But unless one pleases the demigods, there will be no regulated seasonal activities or rainfall. Everything is controlled by the demigods. Under the circumstances, in this age, in order to keep the balance of social peace and prosperity, all intelligent men should execute the performance of Sankirtan Yajna by chanting the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. One should invite people, chant Hare Krishna, and then distribute prasad. This yajna will satisfy all the demigods, and thus there will be peace and prosperity in the world. Another difficulty in performing the Vedic rituals is that if one fails to satisfy even one demigod, one out of many hundreds and thousands of demigods, just as Daksha failed to satisfy Lord Shiva, there will be disaster. But in this age, the performance of sacrifice has been simplified. One can chant Hare Krishna, and by pleasing Krishna, one can satisfy all the demigods automatically. So this is the beauty of Kali Yuga, mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That just chant Hare Krishna, everything will be taken care of. So here Prabhupada explained, even this yajna, all the demigods are satisfied because Krishna is satisfied by your chanting. So devotee in this day and age doesn't need to do anything, any other yajna, any other sacrifice, or any other austerity or tapasya or penance or charity or anything else. Just chant. So we'll stop here. It also ends the 6th chapter of 4th canto of Bhagavatam. So tomorrow we'll start the new chapter, text 7. So any questions or comments?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you.
Prabhuji, I have a question. Which you were saying कि तुलसी stick जो है अभी आप बता रहे थे ना, at the time of death अगर तो हम लोगों में प्रभुजी जब तो लास्ट राइट्स में नहलाते हैं बॉडी को तो मुंह में तुलसी का रख देते हैं. Is it good enough?
या वो भी ठीक है, पर हर कोई नहीं करता ना.
अच्छा, ओके. मतलब हम लोगों के यहाँ तो अगर लाइक अगर घर पे डेथ है तो ठीक है, अगर सपोज हॉस्पिटल से है देन ऑल्सो अगर लास्ट में नहीं है तो मुंह में तुलसी दल जरूर रख देते हैं.
हाँ, that's perfect.
रख देते हैं तो मतलब पूरा नहीं जैसे हो पाया तो इतना भी इज इट लाइक.
हाँ, that's fine, कोई प्रॉब्लम.
बिकॉज क्रिमिनेशन ग्राउंड में मैंने नहीं देखा कहीं पे भी तुलसी का रखते हुए ना. वहाँ पे तो सिर्फ वो थोड़ा बहुत वो सैंडलवुड ऐड कर देते हैं थोड़ी सी अदरवाइज तुलसी का नहीं है, कहीं पे भी कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं है। एंटायर दिल्ली में मैंने नहीं देखा। आई बीन टू सो मेनी दिस
हाँ वही, मैंने नहीं देखा तुलसी दल रखते हो किसी के मुंह में, एक्सेप्ट फॉर डिवोटीज। नॉन डिवोटीज का तो नहीं देखा।
बट हम लोग की फैमिली में लाइक ब्राह्मण्स में तो ये है कि मुंह में जरूर तुलसी दल रख देते हैं, रेस्ट का मुझे नहीं मालूम है।
माता जी,
अच्छा
हरे
अच्छा,
कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्ण।
गंगा वाटर भी, आई थिंक, बिकॉज my नानी थी, when she
कुछ
passed
यूज
away,
करते हो
like I
क्या
think half an hour back.
हाँ गंगा जल जरूर पिलाते हैं,
हाँ,
डालते हैं मुंह में।
और तुलसी दल रख देते हैं। वो तो घर की अगर नॉर्मल डेथ है प्रभु जी, देन तो इट्स लाइक कन्वीनियंट
हाँ,
है कि है। बट इफ इट्स लाइक हॉस्पिटल डेथ है या कुछ ऐसा कोई प्रॉब्लम है, तो उस समय तो ये सब चीजें हो ही नहीं पाती हैं। बस इतना जरूर कर देते हैं कि थोड़ा सा तुलसी जरूर मुंह में रख देते हैं, और
हाँ
ऊपर
वो
से
अच्छा
गंगा।
है, बहुत अच्छा है। वो क्रिमेशन के टाइम भी हो गया ना, तो भी बहुत अच्छा है।
हाँ हाँ, बस वो मतलब दैट्स मस्ट, वो जरूर करना है, चाहे जैसे मर्जी करके, कुछ हो ना हो ये जरूर है। दो चीजें, तुलसी दल मुंह में और गंगा जल छिड़क दो, बस हो गया। स्नान अगर नहीं हो पाया तो आई वाज जस्ट थिंकिंग इज इट लाइक ओके, और हम लोग का, मैंने तो
हाँ
कभी
हाँ
नहीं
हाँ, परफेक्टली ओके।
देखा तुलसी स्टिक, तो मैंने कभी भी नहीं देखी, कहीं पे भी नहीं देखा, लाइक दिल्ली में तो नहीं है।
पर अब तो जैसे अब जो नॉन फेथफुल है वो भी बढ़ रहे हैं, थीस्ट भी बढ़ रहे हैं, तो वो कहते हैं सब तो ढोंग है, ऐसे क्या होता है। तो वो कहते हैं मुंह में गंगा जल नहीं डालो, शराब डालो।
ये भगवान।
हे
हाँ वो
भगवान।
डालते भी, कई 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 लोग करते हैं, कहते हैं अच्छे से जलेगा, उसको अंदर से भी अच्छे से पीनी चाहिए। जो भी है नॉनसेंस एक्टिविटीज है।
इससे अच्छा तो देसी घी ज्यादा क्वांटिटी में कर लो, ज्यादा बेटर है, लाइक उसका क्वांटम बढ़ा दो अगर इतना।
जिसका फेथ नहीं है ना, उसका आप कुछ नहीं कर सकते, कोई
यस प्रभु,
लॉजिक नहीं दे
दैट्स राइट, यस। बट ये मैं पहली बार सुन रही हूँ कि मुंह में शराब डाल दो।
सकते। मैंने तो सुना है।
पता नहीं, मैंने नहीं सुना कभी, मैं देखा भी नहीं है। एनीवे,
प्रभु जी, हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी। प्रभु जी, जो तुलसी महारानी घर में सूख जाती है एट द एंड ऑफ सीजन एंड ऑल, हम इसको रख सकते हैं ना फॉर यूसेज, बिकॉज देन वी कैन kind of give it in the society as well. इसी इन्हीं को ही दे सकते हैं ना ऐसे फॉर these various sacrifice, फायर हो गया
हाँ
and
दे
all.
भी सकता है, और वैसे तो उसको बेरी कर देते हैं,
अच्छा,
जस्ट बेरी हर ऐसे।
नहीं मतलब अगर यूज करना ही है तो ये सूखा वालों को हम रख सकते हैं ना।
या अगर यूज करना तो कर सकते हैं।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
With this idea.
हरे कृष्ण।
Since they have raised this question, I had a doubt. So by putting tulsi stick in the burning fire, so the person will be saved from going to hell, or Vishnu Buddha will come to take him in their pain. So that the Yamdutas come to take away a sinful person before death. So after he has taken the soul, so is it possible to redeem that soul from them at the
But
time of?
we had explained, the soul is still around even when the cremation is going on, because the attachment is still there with the bodily relationships. So they don't take him immediately away.
Okay.
That is why we till Termi we do the Garud Puran part, because soul is still around.
Right. So even if somebody practiced devotion voluntarily whole life, and he was probably having not not favorable or averse to performing any devotional activity, even if he had favorable to one devotee, if the member of the family or somebody he knows has been a devotee, by the mercy of the devotee, even after death, that person can go back to can be saved from sinful life.
Yeah, but if he is favorable to even one devotee, means he has done plenty of devotional service in previous lifetimes. That we cannot see, right? So we cannot judge a book by its cover only.
Because if a devotee goes to the cremation and puts one tulsi stick there, even without the knowledge of the family members, that means the person will be saved. So which means the person, the devotee who is putting it, because he is doing it because somewhere that person who died was done some devotion service or some charity to the devotee. Or it can be purely causeless mercy.
Devotees are merciful anyway.
So I think we can do this service. Go to cremation ground whenever we are free. And small stick we have tulsi leaves, and in all the fire is burning, we can put.
If one can do that, it's a great service. Krishna will be very pleased. And not only that, actually, once there was a talk in Delhi temple. Then why ISKCON doesn't have a cremation ground of its own? So we can do a proper procedure for any dead body who comes without all the karmakandi process. We can do proper procedure. But then it was considered, nah, it's too much.
So many people are dying.
As sure as death, right? Everybody's going to die. And there's proper time for preaching, proper time for asking for any donations also in that person's name, and to do the proper rituals properly. I know I've been to so many cremations because ISKCON temple president, they don't do it properly. They just do some things here and there, and that's it. They don't do it properly.
Service actually great opportunity of preaching also.
It's a very good opportunity for preaching. Very good.
The whole family is intent on listening what's happening up there.
Yep. Yep.
We have a cremation ground and some devotees are dedicated for service. I think we can do wonderful service. We can convert a lot of people to devotional activity.
Yeah, at that time and at the time of Kriya, whether it's Chautha or Terma, whatever it is, it's a perfect time for preaching.
I still remember how he came and gave a lecture at Brahma and his mother's sister and Chautha, and everybody was so intense hearing. So that actually made a lot of people devotees.
Yeah, whatever service we could do.
And Prabhuji is very unfortunate. In fact, I had the opportunity once to also book distribute वगैरह करने का टाइम में people are not even kind of one यहाँ से हमको कुछ लेके नहीं जाना चाहिए पाप आ जाएगा अच्छा then you pay for the books तो नहीं हम तो अभी तो छूना भी नहीं चाहिए हमको I mean थोड़ा सा कलयुग का इतना impact है
at the time of cremation they have this idea but not at the time of Kriya.
हाँ नहीं 13 day मैं वही 13 day वाला incident का बात कर रहा हूँ
अच्छा नहीं like probably mentioning about what's his name Parul Mataji and Chanchal Prabhu. So Chanchal Prabhu himself gave the books to everybody. Parul Mataji gave the books. We gave them the books, but they were the hosts. When they gave, nobody refused.
प्रभु जी हमारे यहाँ क्रिया पे रखते भी हैं बुक्स लाइक कोई हनुमान चालीसा कोई अमृतवाणी कुछ भी गीता वी डू डिस्ट्रीब्यूट प्रभु जी
Okay, but see, you are Sharmas, no Brahmans. Others are in the same mode.
ये भी है हाँ थोड़ा सा फर्क है प्रभु जी
Yeah,
अभी थोड़ा सा रह गया है हमारे अंदर कुछ हम लोग यहाँ मतलब इट्स लाइक मैंडेटरी जैसे चाय व पानी है तो बुक्स का भी होना इट्स लाइक मैंडेटरी चाहे कुछ भी रखो व्हाटएवर एक होना ही चाहिए वो लोग लेके भी जाते हैं खुशी हैप्पीली दे टेक इट हैप्पीली
Yeah, but not everybody is same.
हाँ वो ना नहीं, मैं हम लोग अपनी कम्युनिटी के हिसाब से सोचते समझते हैं ना, हमने वही देखा है तो बहुत ऑस्पिशियस भी मानते हैं इसको कि नहीं, कोई भी बुक वी शुड डिस्ट्रीब्यूट एनी बुक.
Chalo.
Thank you,
So
Prabhuji.
should we?
Thanks a lot.
Okay, we can stop here. You all have a wonderful and safe day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Jai Shri